Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. And we're continuing our series of daily morning meditations where we generally look at one or another of the lessons that are signed for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the daily office lectionary. And today, Tuesday morning, I thought what we would do is jump into the lesson that we've been going through in Genesis at morning prayer. Now, if you've been following along, and I hope that you are at least reading the lessons that are appointed for the daily office lectionary, we are on the week of the fourth Sunday of Lent, if you can find it at the beginning of your prayer book, or published in our parish chronicle, which we can find on our parish website under publications, stjohnsdetroit.org, under chronicle. All of them are listed in there. Anyway, we've been hopscotching our way through Genesis, hitting the highlights, and we remember last week we talked about how Joseph was the favorite brother of his father, Jacob, also known as Israel, and he was the favorite, and the other brothers were jealous of him. He also had some dreams which said that somehow the other brothers would worship and would have to pay obeisance to their brother Joseph. And so they certainly did not like him. And so when he came out to check up on him at the bidding of his father, they sold him into slavery in Egypt. Now, of course, we've been working our way through the story since then, and Joseph gains the confidence of Pharaoh, all sorts of crazy stuff happening in between there, but he becomes basically the second-hand man in Egypt. And of course, this is all a part of God's plan as well. When a famine happens, Egypt has food stored up because of Joseph, and so the rest of the family comes to Egypt in order to buy food so that the people of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the people of the Jews, do not starve to death. And lo and behold, who are they dealing with but Joseph? And they don't recognize him. So at first, Joseph doesn't tell him who he is. And he puts them through a series of tests. They go back and forth. The money's still in the bag, the golden goblets. Also, read the story. It's really fantastic. But now we jump up. We're in chapter 45, and this is the great climax of the story of Joseph and his brothers. Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him, and he cried, "'Cause every man to go out from me." And there stood no man with him while Joseph made himself known to his brethren. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians in the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said unto his brethren, "I am Joseph. Doth my father yet live?" And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. And Joseph said unto the brethren, "Come near to me, I pray you." And they came near. And he said, "I am Joseph your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves that ye sold me hither. For God did send me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years hath the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years in the which there shall neither be earing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So now it was not you that sent me hither, but God. For he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. Haste ye and go to my father, and say unto him, Thus saith my son Joseph, God hath made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, tarry not." So, what the brothers intended for evil, God used for good, right? And Joseph says, look, I'm not blaming you. Yes, it was rotten what they did, right? But obviously it was how God was going to save the people of the descendants of Abraham, was he was going to use their evil and trickery in selling their brother into slavery in Egypt. He used it for good, right? God used it in order to save them from the famine that was coming. God prepared him, raised him up as a leader of Egypt, gave him a premonition of the coming famine so that they would store up the grain so they could eat. And ultimately, they would be led into the land of Goshen, which is another portion of Egypt, in order to bring their flocks and to be able to dwell there and to have their animals raised up and to make a living there. Now, we know generations are coming, and we're going to hear about that things go bad after a while for them in Egypt. But the reality is that they would have starved to death had it not been for Joseph. Right? So it is amazing that sometimes we do really, really bad things, and yet God is able to use them for good, right? Those who love him. And so I'm not saying you should do bad on purpose, but if you make a mistake, you repent and you return to the Lord, you ask him for forgiveness, and see how it is that God may use it to his own greater glory. right? His own honor and glory. Today's Tuesday. We have service today at 12:15, evening prayer at 5 o'clock, communion at 12:15. I hope you'll join us live or online at stjohnsdetroit.org. And I hope you have a fantastic Tuesday. May God bless you.